Welcome to episode 3 of Partner Assistant, Partner Intelligence podcast. And we're fortunate to have Ross Gemp here, who is the partner director at Black Duck, formerly known as Synopsys. And as it turns out, I'm ex-Synopsys, so I'm very familiar with your products. And it's really great to welcome you to this podcast. We're on the show floor here and it's just buzzing with activity. Last I heard, there's more than 35,000 people or maybe even more.
Well, they had 36,000 last year, and rumor has it that they're going to break 41,000 this year. So let's hope for the best. This is our #1 show of the year.
That's amazing. And you guys have pole position here. You go down the escalators and as you're entering the hall, Black Duck is everywhere.
No, we're very fortunate. We've got a 30 by 30 front and center. We've got one of our top partners, Optiv, right behind us, which made it very easy to get my executives to work with the executives at Optiv. So it was the perfect storm. Again, year after year, we love coming
fantastic. Back. And I got my Black Duck swag. I got the shirt and I got the little rubber duck. I already have 4 at home, but
well, I've got a bag full if you need.
This is amazing. I mean, it's amazing how, for me, life has come almost, I want to say full circle. I managed cloud alliances at Synopsys. And, at that point, we just acquired Black Duck and, Black Duck was a superstar, as we were just talking a little while ago. And now I've got my own startup and we're talking about partner intelligence. So this is really fantastic. So, what we're going to do is we're going to get into, why the topic for this podcast is why is partner intelligence? So this is kind of going beyond using a PRM, but why is AI so important in go-to-market for cybersecurity vendors like yourselves, right? So that's kind of what we're going to deep dive into. But before we get into that, would love to hear from you how things are going.
Yeah, no, again, our paths didn't cross at Synopsys, which is unfortunate, but I've been with Synopsys Black Duck for nearly, 5 years, just last week, 5 years. And, it's been an interesting journey. I was one of the first channel people they hired. And so I've got to see this thing grow from 0 to, 40% of our business through the channel. So this is huge. I would argue that RSA is our kind of #1 event, right? Black Hat being a close second. But so it's a fantastic event. The buzz is great. Everything's about AI. If you're not talking about AI right now, you're in trouble. And we just launched our Signal product, which was perfect and timely. It was great.
Congratulations.
And it's just been a fantastic week. I mean, it's a force multiplier when you start working with partners, right? And then you start working with alliance partners. And, then things really get interesting. And then you can build this better together story. Right. And then, hyperscalers, right? Google, I spent multiple meetings this week working with Google. So, these are this is the only way we're going to get to the next level. And then you add in AI and, I'll be honest, our partners are putting AI front and center. So, now it's on us, right?
Right.
And Synopsys Black Duck, we have 20 years of IP. I mean, that is incredible, right? And we have some formidable competitors, which, we don't need to dive into those, but we have something our partners don't have. And we have all the tools, right? So we're very fortunate. We love the show. We love the location. Yeah. And we love all the partnerships too.
When I was at AWS and Synopsys approached me and I started reading about it, I didn't really know that much about application security and software security at the time. Right. But when I started reading about it, and then I started reading about the dominant position that some of your assets like Coverity and, other tools had, I was like, this is the place I want to be.
Well, I mean, and how many of our competitors have been in the magic quadrant in the top right corner for incredible 6 years now?
It's incredible.
And again, but yes, no,
No, that is fantastic. So, what I really wanted to get into with you, and let me just back up. So AI presents opportunities and it presents challenges, right? Companies that are trying to protect their data, making sure their software is secure, because you've got AI agents building code and who knows where they're pulling that software from, and that's got to be scanned, and you guys do all that. So I can only imagine that the time couldn't be better, right? For folks like you, with the attack surface just going completely out of control. Where's AI pulling his data from? Where's AI pushing his data into, and all that, right? So it's,
Well, and it's interesting. And, we have a PRM, in partner, a great partner of ours, funny enough, managing that system. And, it's all about deal registration. It's all about, enabling, our partners, right? And, we use that tool to do that. Very love to dive into this topic, but it's like, I want to see how, again, we work with M Partner, but how do we connect AI to M Partner, leverage their tool to see how we can better enable our partners faster, quicker, and what have you. And then also I have to do a shout out to some of my savvy sales reps that I get to work with. And, I think they're kind of getting creative on their own. I think they're going, and again, I don't fault them. I want to proof what they're doing sometimes, but sometimes they're creating their own better together stories with ChatGPT. Yeah. I think that's creative.
Well, you and I were not in our 20s anymore, so we've been there, right? Where we had the shadow IT, and then there were people running their credit cards and putting stuff in the cloud, and and then now it's shadow AI, right?
Right. But I think AI is going to take things to the next level. Hopefully, makes my life a tiny little bit easier. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to learning and hearing more about that.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And that's a great segue into the point that I was going to make, which is that the world of security, cybersecurity, and go-to-market specifically is complex, right? So you're Black Dog, but you're partnering with a systems integrator, you're partnering with AWS, let's say, in an opportunity, or Google or Azure. You have a couple of technology partners that you're teaming up with. So that consortium, if you will, the collaboration of that consortium is complex, right?
Very complex.
And things fall through the cracks. I mean, you and I, we've been in the channels business for decades, and we've seen deals go really bad because one company wasn't talking to the other company in this consortium. So partner intelligence is really all about that, right? So partner intelligence is really about taking data, taking signals, no pun intended. I know you guys call your product Signal.
Check out Signal. Check out Signal.
Check out Signal.
Black Duck, yeah.
But, getting that data, getting the signals from your ecosystem, right? And really having AI build that context so who your partners are, right? And what's going on in that ecosystem, and really being able to have the data and the insights on hand real time to make decisions on things like, hey, I've just picked up a lead at this event. I'm going to go back to the office. And if it's not a managed account, then I'm going to pass it to the SDR. And then we're going to keep our fingers crossed because SDRs are junior, and we've seen how some of these leads will fall through the cracks. Or what I can do is I can use AI to really help me find the ideal channel partner, right? That'll help me close that deal.
That is exactly what we need, and that's the thing, and that's the hard. It's the challenging and hardest part of my job, I could argue. But it's like finding the ideal partner. We could be in the account, or maybe we're not in the account. Maybe this is an account that we're trying to get into. But trying to find those partners that are invested in their customers. Hey, work with Black Duck. And in some cases, it's obviously a give to get, right? We might be able to bring them into an account. But you touch upon something very interesting. Whatever way we can identify the best partner, it would be great.
It's incredible, the things that AI is doing. We use it in our personal lives, and it's just, for me, some of the stuff just looks like magic. And then I'm like, well, how do we get this magic into the world of business?
How can it benefit us?
And how can we do it since we're at a security conference, in a secure way? Right? Because we don't want our salespeople putting confidential information out in public models where you have no idea where it's going.
Oh, 2 years ago, we wouldn't even be having this conversation, but AI has just come so far.
Right. So this takes me kind of to the next topic, and I'd really love to thank Jay McBain and Matthew Ball at Omdia. Jay McBain needs no introduction. I'm sure you know him.
Very much.
He is he's probably the thought leader and, the top market research analyst in the channel space. And so very timely, yesterday, I go back home from the event and I'm going through LinkedIn and I see a post from Jay McBain. It's talking about how, and I'll just read some of the things in his post. He said that I like the way he presents it, because he says, okay, let's do a pop quiz, right? So he goes, what's the number one partner opportunity in the entire telco and tech industry, right? Based on the percentage of revenue going through the channel. And so you're going, oh, you're thinking about these things. And then he drops these hints. He goes, 91.7%, excuse me, of the $106.4 billion product sales in the security area is going to flow through or with channels, right? So that's interesting. And the other thing he says is that partners will sell $2 of services for every dollar that you sell of product, right? And then he goes on to say that this channel opportunity in the cybersecurity space is growing at 12.1%, which is faster than the tech industry as a whole, right? Which is interesting because if you're a channel partner, you're reading this and you're going, man, if I'm not in the security business, how do I get into the security business, right? So,
well, and that's interesting you bring that up. Optiv and GuidePoint are two of our biggest partners, and they pretty much created the security VAR space. And then at our booths, we were getting hit up by a lot of VARs that are not in the security space, that actually want to now get into it. And so that's a very interesting take on that.
Yeah. And, and we had a chat about this over coffee yesterday that, AI is really changing the way vendors are thinking, not just the security vendors, but vendors in general are thinking about partnerships, right? A lot of them, large companies, the big ones, the top 5 are saying, hey, we've got to reimagine our partner programs. We're going to reimagine the way we go to market with partners. So that's really interesting. The other thing that was interesting in this research is that Jay and Matthew talk about how hyperscaler marketplaces are going to remain to be the fastest route to market
100%.
for cybersecurity vendors, which I thought was really, really interesting. And so if you combine AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud, the marketplaces, they go on to say that these marketplaces, from a cybersecurity sales perspective, it's projected to grow at 33.9% to hit $11 billion in 2026, reaching $31 billion in 2030. That must make you feel really good.
Yeah, well, definitely. Google, we're invested in Google, and they're invested in us, and our platform runs on them. So yeah, no, Google's going to continue to grow.
Fantastic.
As with other partners.
Yeah. No, because, so as I mentioned, when I was at Synopsys, my job was managing the 3 big ones. And, some of them were further along than others back in the day, but, that gap is closing, right? That gap is closing. It has closed. So, the other thing that topic that I want to touch on, Ross, is I'd love to get your insight on how is Black Duck using AI, not just to build your products, right? To build smarter products, but how are you using AI for go-to-market? And, it's okay if you haven't embarked on that path yet. A lot of large companies haven't, but are you thinking about, how AI can help? You mentioned you have a PRM, right? Yeah. How AI can kind of complement that PRM to really help you with the partner intelligence that you need to do, speed up your sales cycles and increase your win rates and all that good stuff.
Well, and Black Duck Signal is what we've been talking about this week. And, one thing that comes to mind is, how do we enable our partners to say the difference between Black Duck Signal and maybe what a competitor does, right? So in partner, we want to figure out how they are going to bring AI into our in partner, right? Into our instance. So how we can, best enable. I mean, put yourself in the seat of a reseller, right? So they're selling CrowdStrike, they're selling Tanium, right? AppSec may or may not be in, top front and center, but hey, wait a second, Black Duck, I'm hearing a lot about Black Duck. Let me go to the PRM tool and best enable myself so I can intelligently talk about it. So that's how I see ourselves doing that. We're not there yet, but again, everything's about AI, right? Yeah. And it's all about, AI generated code and how we can, find those vulnerabilities, right? Yeah. And, because there's still some bad behavior out there, right?
That's right.
And so we've got to make sure that we protect our customers.
What a fascinating time to be a go-to-market person in the age of AI in this business, right?
That was crazy.
Because AI is just completely rewriting the rules and just setting the bar so high in terms of the things that we can do with that data that we've not been using. We at a Partner Assistant AI, we've done a lot of partnership leader interviews over the last 12 months as we've built our AI product. And the one thing that they've all said to us is, and they validated what we've been saying all along, which is that up to 85% of the data that you really need to make those decisions about which channel partner to go with, how to collaborate with them, who am I sharing information with on a deal at a specific point to accelerate and get to the next stage, that 85% of the data is dark data, right?
Yeah.
It's sitting in notes, and it's sitting in Excel spreadsheets, and it's sitting in a customer RFP, and it's sitting on the channel partner's website, and it's sitting in second-party data, which is the channel partner's CRM, if they open some of that up to you for account mapping. And so it's really interesting how now, if you apply security and you apply the right guardrails around AI, how you can capture all this data and create the context that you need around the partner and the opportunity to really collaborate without friction, make those right decisions, and really close that deal faster than your competition.
It's all about deal acceleration. It's about finding the deals, getting the right team going in the right directions. That's it. No.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming on. This is only our third episode. We're a new podcast.
Well, there we go.
And it's been an honor to meet someone from Black Duck, the company that I worked with for a couple of years to get their cloud go-to-market up and running. And I wish you luck. I think we're about to, are they about to close
I don't know, but I want to thank you too. Thank you very much for asking me to be on. Again, I love your technology. I'm looking forward to, bringing you into the Black Duck fold and, working together. So
thanks, Ross. And thank you. And thank you all
very much
for listening to the podcast. And we'll see you on the next one. If you're on social media, please comment, like, ask questions. We really want to turn this into an interactive discussion because partner intelligence, especially in the cybersecurity space, is such a hot topic. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Lost track of time. Okay. Wow. Okay. That was good.